out gardening this week in my backyard. By accident, actually. Just found myself there. And I was like, oh look, gardening needs to happen. And we had some dead growth from last year that had to be pulled out so the new growth can take over. And as I said, this was totally unplanned. I just found myself in that part of the yard, so I decided to do it. So I just started to grab hold of this dead stuff and yank it out with my bare hands. And I was like, all right, this looks good. And then afterwards, I'm like, why do my hands feel funny? And I looked, and on the palm of my hands, there's all these little prickers. Man, I should have worn gloves. I didn't think about it. Now, thankfully, they just were like few and came right out. But it made me think, like, flowers can be beautiful and painful depending on how we hold them. Now, if I clench down upon a rose stem, I will experience a lot of pain, maybe even some blood. But if I rest a rose stem in my hand, I will experience beauty. Now, it's really hard not to grip down upon the beauty of life. I always say something like, the pictures just don't do this sunset any justice. Yet I still took the picture. Like, something within me said, capture this moment, hold on to it. Now, there's nothing wrong with photography. I love to see well done photos. It is an art form. Keep taking photos. I'm talking about a posture of life when we need to look out. We need to look out for this posture of life where we don't experience the life within this moment because we're too caught up in trying to capture the joy of it. Or we're too caught up in trying to rush past the hurt of this moment. And we clench down on life to pause and preserve the good, or prevent or cliche away the pain. In either case, we miss the life that is present right here because we live in the past through regret or nostalgia, or we live in the future through anxiety or anticipation. And either way, we clench down upon the rose stem of this moment here and experience pain instead of life. Now, this isn't a big moral failure on our part. It's more of like an unlearned skill that just causes us a lot of extra suffering. Now, there's a theory out there called just world theory that believes the world is essentially a fair and just place to those who do it right. It says if you work hard, you don't experience poverty. If you behave yourself, you don't experience tragedy. If you affiliate properly, you won't experience loneliness. But then there's opposite side of this coin that says if you are experiencing anything bad, like chronic illness or abuse or poverty or mental illness or loneliness, well, it must be because you did it wrong or you didn't do enough, because this world is a fair and just place. There's just rules that you got to follow and stuff that you got to do. And as long as you do those things, everything's good. It must be because you're lazy that you brought this poverty upon yourself, or you just need to find that silver bullet for your health and then you'll be feeling great. Or you must have done something that made God upset and now you're experiencing tragedy. And when we say it like that, we totally know that this is not how it works. But the temptation that allures us back is that of control. If we can just find the right combination of living and thinking, then we can avoid tragedy and invite blessing, because the world, it's essentially a just and fair place to those who do it properly, right? But it's not. Perhaps it's easier to believe that we can control our lives' outcomes than to admit that this world doesn't care, really, and deals out cards in what feels like a random pattern. Now, the Psalms actually recognize this, and so many Psalms are actually geared towards this lament with God. And when we think like it's our conduct or belief that triggers blessing or curse, then we betray this internal just world theory inside of us. But in reality, life happens. And with it comes the good and bad, beautiful and ugly, the pleasant and the difficult. And life flows like water into us as a gift. And the best way to receive water is to cup your hands in a receptive manner and let it come. But when we fear loss of life, loss of beauty, we can clamp down upon the flow of water in attempts to hold on to it, and we miss the life that is still flowing. And we become protective of the few drops we have left in our hands, and we squeeze them into fists to attack and defend. All in attempts to protect the very thing that we could gain if we just opened back up to experience life anew. Abundant life, like Karst talks about here, is more life that can fit into your hands, and the only way to experience it is with open hands, letting life flow into and through. Thomas Merton, my homeboy, he said, we must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So may we learn the art of receptive living through open hands.